Princess Lysera stood at the edge of the floating balcony, her eyes sweeping over the sparkling city of Lumeria. Towers of crystalline structures glimmered in the sunlight, suspended above the clouds by forces unknown to most other civilizations. She loved this view, the calm before the storm that never seemed to come. As the heir to the throne, she carried the weight of generations on her shoulders. Duty and honor guided her every move, and she had learned early in life that personal desires were a luxury she could rarely afford. For years, Lysera had refused every alliance and marriage proposal sent from neighboring worlds. Each time she had smiled politely, given her reasons, and watched as hopeful suitors left in disappointment. Politics had never been her passion, protecting her people was, yet despite her resolute heart, whispers of curiosity occasionally stirred within her. What if there was someone who could make her question everything she believed? She quickly dismissed the thought. Such distractions were dangerous. On this particular morning, the palace gates opened to welcome a human delegation. Lysera had seen humans before in passing, but never one who traveled as a representative of their species. Captain Ethan Drake stepped forward, his tall frame and confident stride contrasting sharply with the elegance of Lumerian visitors. There was no arrogance in his manner, only calm intelligence and a quiet courage. Lysera's council presented Ethan formally. He bowed respectfully, not in the rigid Lumerian style, but in a human gesture that carried both humility and honesty. She observed him closely. He was unlike any alien she had met before, unpredictable in his thoughts, yet consistent in his actions. "I am here to establish friendship and peace between our worlds," Ethan said, his voice steady, carrying a sincerity that seemed to reach even the most skeptical of Lumerians. "I hope that through cooperation, we can protect both our peoples and learn from each other." Lysera nodded, her face unreadable. "We welcome visitors, Captain, but understand this. Lumeria does not make hasty alliances. Everything here is measured, calculated, and guided by the welfare of our citizens. I am certain you will find our ways." "Different, I expected nothing less," Ethan replied. He remained composed even under the scrutiny of the entire council. The first day passed with careful formalities. Ethan asked thoughtful questions about Lumerian culture, their technology, and their governance. He listened more than he spoke, and when he did speak, his words were measured, respectful, and intelligent. Lysera could not deny that she was intrigued, though she reminded herself that intrigue was not a reason to lower her guard. The following day brought news of a minor border conflict. Rogue factions from the neighboring system had encroached upon Lumerian territory, testing defenses and creating unrest among frontier colonies. Lysera immediately called for a council meeting. Maps and holo projections filled the chamber, showing troop movements and weak points. The discussion grew heated as advisors debated the best course of action. "I can assist," Ethan said, stepping forward. "I have experience in coordinating defense strategies under pressure. My people's methods differ from yours, but combining our approaches could be advantageous." Whispers swept through the council. Humans were known for their unpredictability, but also for their ingenuity. Lysera raised her hand, signaling silence. "We shall observe your strategy," she said, her voice calm but authoritative. "But understand, failure is not an option." Ethan nodded, his face composed. "I do not seek glory, Princess. Only to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Within hours, he was at the frontier with a small team of human engineers and Lumerian officers. Lysera accompanied them, not because she doubted his skill, but because she needed to see for herself how he worked under pressure. She had seen many alien commanders skilled in their traditions, but humans operated differently. They relied not solely on training or protocol, but on creativity, improvisation, and the courage to take responsibility. The battle against the rogue factions was not large in scale, but it was intense. Lumerian defenses were well planned, but the rogues were cunning. When a sudden ambush threatened to isolate a frontier outpost, Ethan acted swiftly. He directed a combination of Lumerian defensive tech and human tactics, creating a coordinated counterstrike. His calm presence inspired others, and in moments of chaos, his clarity of thought proved invaluable. Lysera watched from the edge of a ridge, her heart beating faster than she expected. She had always believed humans were fragile compared to the strength of Lumerians, yet here was one human, standing tall, guiding allies, and facing danger with unwavering determination. When the ambush ended and the rogue forces retreated, Ethan approached her. His uniform was dusty, his face marked by effort, yet his eyes held a light she could not ignore. "The outpost is secure," he said simply, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You acted well under pressure," Lysera said, her voice softer than she intended. "I did not expect this from your kind." Ethan smiled faintly. "I am not here to impress, Princess, only to help." Over the next several days, Ethan continued to demonstrate his abilities. He helped organize supply lines, repaired damaged defense systems, and even mediated disputes among Lumerian soldiers. Each act, small or large, left an impression on Lysera. She found herself observing him more closely, noticing his patience, his respect for all life, and the subtle ways he encouraged others to do their best. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the floating city, Lysera and Ethan stood on the balcony overlooking Lumeria. The air was cool, filled with the soft glow of bioluminescent plants below. For a long moment neither spoke. "You are different," Lysera said finally. "I have met many who claim to understand honor, yet few truly do. You understand it without needing to prove it." Ethan's gaze met hers. "I believe honor is shown through actions, not words. You, Princess, exemplify the same. Your people's safety and happiness guide you. I only wish to aid that mission." Lysera felt a strange flutter in her chest, a feeling she had not allowed herself in years. She had always thought her heart belonged solely to her duty, but something about Ethan challenged that certainty. She turned away, hiding her thoughts behind a mask of composure. The following day brought an urgent report. Another faction of rogues had launched a larger strike, targeting the capital itself. The council panicked, unsure how to defend against such a coordinated attack. Lysera's decision was swift. She assigned Ethan to lead a small strike team, trusting his judgment to protect not only her city but also its people. The mission was perilous. They moved under the cover of night, navigating treacherous terrain and evading enemy sensors. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the path ahead. Lysera was caught off guard, and for the first time, danger felt very real. Ethan reached her side instantly, pulling her to safety behind a rocky outcrop. "Stay close," he ordered calmly. "We will get through this." Lysera's heart pounded, but not just from fear. She realized she had trusted him completely, in a way that went beyond strategy or duty. In that moment, she understood that her respect had grown into something deeper, an emotion she had long denied herself. Together, they managed to reach the enemy's base undetected. Ethan coordinated the defenses, neutralized traps, and guided the Lumerian forces with precision. Lysera fought alongside him, witnessing the combination of human ingenuity and Lumerian skill in perfect harmony. By dawn, the rogue faction was defeated, their forces scattered, and the capital remained safe. As they returned to the city, exhaustion weighed heavily on both, yet there was a silent acknowledgement between them. Ethan had proven himself in ways Lysera could not have anticipated. Not only had he saved her, but he had also shown her that humanity was capable of courage, intelligence, and compassion that rivaled any alien race she knew. That evening, as she stood alone on the balcony again, the city lights shimmering below, Lysera allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. Her duty remained paramount, but a seed of something new had been planted, a curiosity, a hope, and a connection that she could not ignore. For the first time in her life, the Princess of Lumeria wondered if saying no was truly the right choice. And somewhere across the balcony, unseen, Captain Ethan Drake felt the weight of that unspoken change. He did not know what the future held, but he knew one thing clearly. The bond he had begun to forge with Lysera was unlike any he had ever encountered. The stars above shone brighter that night, as if signaling the beginning of a story neither of them could yet fully understand, a story that would challenge tradition, courage, and the heart itself. The sun rose slowly over Lumeria, painting the floating city in golden light. Princess Lysera stood at her balcony again, thinking about the events of the past days. Her mind kept returning to Captain Ethan Drake, the human who had challenged her beliefs and shaken her carefully guarded heart. She had always prided herself on her discipline, her ability to separate duty from emotion, yet now she felt a stirring she could neither control nor fully understand. Ethan was already awake, moving through the palace corridors with quiet purpose. He had been helping coordinate repairs to the city's defenses after the recent attacks. The rogue factions had left scars, both physical and emotional, and it was his calm determination that reassured the Lumerian citizens. Lysera watched him from above, noting the way he spoke to soldiers and engineers, encouraging them, listening to their ideas, and praising their efforts. It was not command that earned respect. It was trust. She descended to the courtyard where Ethan was meeting with a group of Lumerian officers. His presence seemed to naturally calm the tension that lingered from the recent attacks. When he noticed Lysera approaching, he straightened, giving her a respectful nod. "Princess," he said simply, "I am glad to see you. The city is recovering well, thanks to your guidance as well." Lysera inclined her head. "Your contributions have been invaluable, Captain. I had underestimated your people's ability to adapt and lead. You have proven me wrong in ways I did not expect." Ethan smiled faintly, a gesture that carried no arrogance, only sincerity. "I am glad to be of service. It is not only duty but also respect for those who welcome me." The words struck Lysera in a way she could not articulate. She felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun above. It was the acknowledgement of shared purpose, a connection that transcended species and tradition. In the days that followed, the princess and the captain worked closely together. They traveled to frontier colonies, overseeing reconstruction and training exercises. Lysera noticed small details about Ethan that no one else seemed to see. The patience in his gestures, the way he encouraged Lumerians to voice their opinions, even when the ideas seemed risky. His strategies were not rigid. They adapted to changing circumstances. Where Lumerians relied on centuries of tradition, Ethan relied on observation, logic, and empathy. One afternoon, as they returned from a particularly challenging mission to repair a damaged communication array in a remote valley, a sudden storm forced them to take shelter in an ancient Lumerian ruin. Lightning illuminated the crystalline walls and the wind howled through the open corridors. Lysera felt a pang of fear she had not experienced before. "We should be careful," she said, gripping her staff tightly. "These ruins are old. A collapse could be fatal." Ethan moved closer, his presence steadying. "We will stay together. Follow my lead, and we will remain safe." They navigated the corridors carefully, with Ethan guiding Lysera through hidden passages and weak floors. At one point, a falling stone blocked their path, forcing them to work together to lift it. Lysera was struck by how naturally their cooperation flowed. It was not just teamwork. It was understanding, trust, and a shared goal. When they finally emerged into the open, the storm had passed. The valley below shimmered with rain-soaked light, and the sky glowed with the faint colors of the setting sun. Lysera paused, taking in the beauty, and realized how much she had come to rely on Ethan, not only for guidance but for courage, support, and reassurance. "You handle yourself well," she said quietly, almost to herself. "I did not expect a human to." She stopped, unsure how to finish the thought. "To inspire?" Ethan suggested gently. She looked at him, surprised by the insight. "Yes, inspire. That is the word." Ethan's expression was calm, but his eyes held a warmth that made her heart skip a beat. "Then I am glad my actions have been useful. But it is not only me. You lead with wisdom and courage. Without your guidance, none of this would have been possible." Lysera felt a flush of pride and something else, a feeling she could not name. For the first time, she allowed herself to consider the possibility that her heart might be involved. She had spent her life devoted to duty, and now she realized that human qualities, resilience, empathy, and courage could also touch the heart of even a disciplined princess. The next challenge came swiftly. Scouts reported that a larger rogue fleet was approaching Lumeria's orbit, intending to take advantage of the city's recent vulnerability. The council panicked, unsure how to defend against such overwhelming odds. Lysera called for a meeting, her mind already working through strategies. She knew the usual defenses were insufficient. Human creativity might be their only hope. Ethan presented a plan combining Lumerian defensive technology with human tactics. He proposed using the floating city's energy shields in a coordinated mobile formation, while deploying decoy ships to confuse the attackers. The council was skeptical, but Lysera saw the logic immediately. "We will follow your plan, Captain," she announced, her voice steady. "We have no time for doubt. The safety of our people depends on action." As the rogue fleet entered Lumerian space, Lysera and Ethan stood on the command deck, overseeing the defense. The first wave of attacks came fast and brutal, but Ethan's strategy held. Lumerian ships moved in precise patterns, creating confusion among the enemy, while decoys drew fire away from the main city. Lysera felt the tension rise with every passing moment. Yet she also felt a deep admiration for the human at her side. His decisions were calm, decisive, and selfless. He was not thinking of glory or recognition. He was thinking of people, of lives, of the greater good. During the battle, a rogue ship broke through the defenses and headed straight for the central tower of the city. Lysera's pulse quickened. Without hesitation, Ethan grabbed a control console and redirected shield energy to intercept the attack. The rogue vessel exploded harmlessly above the city, and the remaining enemy forces began to retreat. The city erupted in cheers. Soldiers and citizens alike praised the successful defense. But Lysera only had eyes for Ethan. She approached him amidst the celebration, her emotions finally breaking through her disciplined exterior. "You saved us," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "All of us. Your courage, your mind, your heart. It is unlike anything I have ever seen." Ethan looked at her, his expression calm, but his eyes filled with something unspoken. "I only did what any person would do for those they care about," he said softly. "You lead your people with honor, Princess. I simply followed your example." Lysera's chest tightened. She realized then that her heart had already answered a question she had refused to ask herself. She had said no to countless proposals before, believing she could never trust or love an outsider. Yet here was a human who had earned her respect, her admiration, and most surprisingly, her affection. "Perhaps I was wrong," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Perhaps my no was not the whole truth." Ethan's gaze softened, understanding without words. He reached out gently, and Lysera felt a warmth in her hand she had never known before. It was a connection beyond politics, beyond duty, a bond of trust, courage, and something deeper that neither could ignore. In the following weeks, Lysera and Ethan continued to work together, not only strengthening the city's defenses but also building bridges between humans and Lumerians. Their cooperation became a symbol of unity and hope. Citizens marveled at the humans' ingenuity and the princess's wisdom, realizing that greatness could come from unexpected places. Lysera found herself smiling more often, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She began to see a future not bound solely by duty, but by choice, trust, and shared purpose. The rigid walls she had built around herself were slowly breaking, replaced by an openness she had never allowed before. One evening, as the stars reflected on the city's crystalline towers, Ethan and Lysera stood side by side on the balcony. The night was calm, the air filled with the soft hum of Lumerian energy fields. "Princess," Ethan said, turning to her, "I do not know what the future holds, but I know that I am grateful for this moment, and for the chance to stand with you." Lysera looked at him, her heart full. "And I am grateful as well, Captain. You have shown me courage, wisdom, and kindness, and perhaps that it is possible to trust, to hope, and to let my heart speak." Ethan smiled, and for the first time, Lysera allowed herself to smile fully in return. It was a smile that carried relief, joy, and a quiet certainty. Her no had been a shield, but now, seeing the human beside her, her heart had answered yes. Above them, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating the union of two very different worlds and the promise of what they could achieve together. Humanity had proven its strength not through conquest or domination, but through courage, intelligence, and compassion. And the princess, who had once said no, now understood the power of seeing beyond tradition and opening her heart to the unexpected. The city slept peacefully that night, the floating towers glimmering in the soft light of twin moons. Lysera and Ethan stood quietly side by side, knowing that this was only the beginning of their story, a story of trust, courage, and the extraordinary strength of the human heart. And somewhere deep within her, Lysera felt a hope she had never known, a hope that whatever challenges lay ahead, she would not face them alone. For in a universe filled with uncertainty, one truth